Welcome back. It's time for the losers match. And if you want to call these guys losers, it's pretty tough to swallow. But we've got Hack and Stephano facing defeat, facing dropping down in 4th place, down to the danger day of Code A. You can see that really cool star logo going around DRG. He was able to take his way to round of 16 quite quickly. In fact, not losing a single set. We have had pretty one-sided games so far, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, as you can see. Stephano said he wanted to play against only Terran today. He was very happy that even though he lost, he gets to face Hack now. And of course, if he wins against Hack, he will face another Terran player who will face Innovation. So as far as for Stephano, what matchups he wanted to play, he feels good here. I talked to him. And he's been very relaxed, just hanging out, watching the games. He even tweeted about the game, saying that he thought that the last game could have gone differently if he didn't unsiege and then siege his tanks again after moving them a little bit, which I completely agree with. You know, he's just watching the games, he's studying a little bit, and just trying to keep himself relaxed, as you can see in the booth. Hack, on the other hand, he really is in a tough spot right now. He's got a tough opponent in Stephano. He can do it, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a pretty evenly matched game. But remember, whoever loses this set, this best of 3, will drop down to Code A. Let's find out who it's going to be here at the GSL Codes, casted by yours truly, the one and only Lonely Wolf. The top left of the map in the red. This Terran player is from the StarTale team. He is
StarTale. Hack.
There's a shot of him now. His opponent, the fan favorite from the team Evil Geniuses. He's known worldwide. He is
Stephano later.
And you guys can hear that crowd. A great amount of enthusiasm for this player here. One game more. It was Luck Hearts Stephano. Is his Canadian man crush. Viva la France. Viva Stephano. Greetings from Europe. I just got back from Paris, in fact. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I think it's my favorite place in Europe right now. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but I really thought Paris was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Now at this point, Hack is going for a 1-ranks expand. On this 2-player map, I don't blame him for playing a little bit safer here. Stephano's going to play standard, hatch first. I think this all comes down to build order choices. The mid game is going to be dominated by who moves where, and we talked about this map already. Stephano will likely take the 3rd base that's at the 3 o'clock expansion. Why? The reason is, of course, because the other 3rd is so difficult to take. It's so far by walking. It looks close on the map, but it's difficult to kill those rocks. You have to make way too many. Oh, wow, okay, so we've got a French girl and a Korean boyfriend, it looks like. That says France and Korea. By the way, for those of you who don't speak Korean, France plus Korea basically is what that said. That's pretty cool. I wonder if he's actually rooting for Hack, though. We'll see. Maybe I'll ask them later. Now, when you're in this situation on this map, you know the style you have to play as Stephano. As Hack, you think about this in multiple different ways. You think, okay, well, he's going to take that 3rd. How can I exploit it? Or should I just try to take my own 3rd, try to throw him off a little bit? There's different ways you can approach this. What we saw earlier on this map was DRG get away with his 3rd base and just kind of run with it. Wasn't really a whole lot that could be done once the mutas were out. Innovation just could not deal with the numbers, took bad engagements, and DRG's creep spread was just out of this world. DRG playing like a champ. If he continues to play like that for the rest of the season, I expect him to at least get to the round of 4. Hack takes 1 gas. We've seen this before already. I'm going to take a fast 3rd command center with the 1 gas so he can take not only the 3rd command center, but also get those Hellions out to sort of control the creep a little bit. Get scouting information, get map control. This map, of course, has those watchtowers disappear. So a lot of this map comes down to creep spread as a Zerg player for vision, and as a Terran player, you just need to be active, you need to be present on the map. You give the Zerg player too much room, you get that creep out there, what are you going to do? It's like a dark continent out there. You can't figure out what's there, where to move. You have to use a lot of scans. It hurts your economy. It's hard to drop on a map like this because it's a little bit more narrow. This map has a lot of terrain on it that makes it difficult to move by ground with slow units. And I wouldn't say a bio army is slow, but compared to speedlings, for example, you just don't have that maneuverability, especially once you get on creep where you're going to get surrounded and trapped. The second you step on that creep, the Zerg knows your every move. Stephano has taken gases early, as he's already shown. We'll see probably double evolution chambers going down pretty normally here for him. And in fact, there is the first one. Creep tumor in a position where it kind of might affect his wall slightly, we'll see. Double factory for hack is the tech of choice. This makes sense on this map. I've seen a lot of success with this build already, and that creep tumor just barely not going to block the evolution chamber. That's nice for Stephano. You know, he has to make a choice about that neutral depot. Does he kill it and block it with something else, or does he just force the Terran player to kill it if he wants to break through? Probably just leave it. It has a lot of hit points. Hellions aren't going to break through that depot, that's for sure. So we're going to see a pretty aggressive Hellion play here from Hack. He's also getting a starport, so he's not messing around. He wants to put the pressure on Stephano fast and hard, probably at the third base. See exactly who wants to use that second factory. That's the most important question right now for everybody who's watching. Looks like he may make siege tanks. We've seen this already. It's more likely a blue flame, but the siege tank build we saw earlier, it just didn't quite work out. It didn't get fleshed out like it was supposed to, I think. And I'm really curious to see what that would have kind of led into if it worked out. It's blue flame though. Much more standard play. Going to be making 3 Hellions at a time. One, of course, on the reactor factory, or one set, and then the third one on the tech lab factory. And he actually switches to siege tanks here. Once again, siege tank production with siege mode coming out. This is just a build I myself am not very familiar with. I see this build hardly ever, especially not in the GSL. Another factory goes down, so we will see mech play out of Hack. I think this is a great map for mech with all the terrain you can use, all the different choke points. Stephano, on the other hand, already with the Roach Warren coming up, is in a way prepared to transition into what he needs to do to deal with the composition that Hack is building. A little bit of a late third base for Stephano, but a very safe one. When you go mech, you need to have 6 gases up as soon as possible. That's something that Hack is going to want to do. As soon as that orbital is over there, he has to make sure he defends it. He doesn't have a lot of units to tear those rocks down just yet, since he's been kind of putting out Hellions, which aren't at his main base where he could be destroying the rocks. He could take the same third base that Stephano was taking. With mech, though, that base is a little bit exposed, kind of out in the open. I think we'll more likely see Hack take the third base that's next to the rocks and then either wall or just make sure he's nearby with some of his units with a bunker, for example. Raven comes out for Hack. This is pretty rare, but it's getting more and more common in Korea. To pick off tumors, also the secret missile can be quite nice. Obviously the other utilities of the Raven, like the auto turret, can even be somewhat useful. It's a turret that's armored. Can buffer a lot. Can really do a lot of annoying harassment damage as well, but that's very rarely used in competitive play. 2 siege tanks at a time coming out, Raven coming out, additional factories. Is powering up now with those additional factories because he knows he's about to hit those 6 gases. Sends the command center over, the rocks are gone. See, Overlord's speed is ton for Stephano here. So he can try to protect his Overlords. Viking, though, has other plans. In fact, this is going to be the 3rd Overlord kill for this Viking. So already a very lucrative one, the one that is causing Stephano a lot of grief. And one thing this Viking also tells players, I feel like casters don't always hit on this, but one thing that Viking tells you is no mutas. If there are mutas coming out, that Viking is out of the sky in like 2 seconds. If there's no mutas, that means you don't have to make Thors. And if you don't have to make Thors, you can keep making siege tanks. It gives you a good idea about what your opponent's composition is without even seeing in the main base whether he has a Spire or Infestation Pit. Now, Hack is thinking, okay, probably Infestors. Mutas would probably be chasing my Viking down by now. It's not 100% a case or a tell, but it's a good sign. So he doesn't have to worry about Mutalist right now. Armory is finished up, though. He's going to want to start +1 for his Hellions very, very soon. He tries to find an opening here with his Hellions. Notice he splits them into 2 groups just in case they get fungal. And unfortunately for Stephano, he wasn't able to catch any of those. And the Overlord speed is still just not enough to help Stephano save his poor Overlords right now. This is going to be the 4th one he loses. Hack with really nice micro, making sure he chases, because if he doesn't chase, he's going to, of course, eventually lose the Overlord. Hive is done for Stephano. He's getting a Baneling Nest. An interesting choice. Banelings can be decent against mech depending on how they're used. It's pretty rare to see them used directly against mech. They're only used in specific situations, which we'll see unfold as the game goes a little bit longer here. Second armory coming down for Hack. He wants to make sure you can get double upgrades. The plating is just as important as the attack, especially against Zerg players already at the 12-30 minute mark. 3 siege tanks at a time coming out. Now Hack is building up a crazy siege tank count. He's about to be at 10. He has 17 Hellions out. He's cut down his Hellion production just a little bit because he knows Infestors are out. And Hellions are a great buffer, but you don't want to overcommit to them because once they get locked down with Fungals, they're not too useful in a fight. They're a little bit fragile. They're a great buffering tool. Scan goes down here. He doesn't even have to because he's got a Raven. I think that's something he just kind of realized. But the scan is not only just to clear up the creep, it gives him a little bit advanced notice about what's on the other side. SCV is under attack, but not very much damage done. The Ultralisk Cavern choice here for Stephano is pretty cool. I like it. You know, when your opponent is going for mech, Broodlords can work, but Hack is preparing Vikings right now, and this is going to throw him off when he sees the Ultras, because right now he's preparing to get that Sky Terran going so he can control the air, deal with Broodlords. But it's just not going to be Broodlords he faces, so if he faces only Ultras with this many Vikings, that's just going to be dead supply that's not useful to him at all. Massive Ling run by here by Stephano. He will force a cancel on that Command Center, absolutely, if he wants to. He's going to try to get some Siege Tanks as well as maybe some SCVs. Nice pickup, though, on the depots. Hack not losing very much here at all. Command Center had to be canceled. He loses a few Siege Tanks, but this is a great run by Stephano. It forces the entire mech army home. The lift is there. And talking about literal damage done and units lost, obviously Hack got the better trade, but for the fact that he turned his entire army around, had to lift the Command Center and had to cancel, Stephano is feeling really good about what he got out of that attack. He even takes out the sensor tower there. That is extremely painful. That spots little run bys like this. You don't have the sensor tower, you see less of this coming. That's actually expensive to remake. Notice the Ultras count starts. At the same time, he starts Aspire. So he's preparing a transition. As a mech player, you have to make compositional choices against Zerg. During the mid to early late game, sometimes if a player goes heavy Roach, you're always worried, am I making too many tanks? Do I need to switch to Thors? When's he going to switch to Rulers? What if he makes some sort of Mulus switch? Kind of rare, but you have to be always aware of that. Right now, he's making some Thors because Thors are going to be decent against Ultras. They can do extra damage in the back with their range, but they're going to be slightly useful against Broodlords as well, so he's got enough tanks to where he's like, well, can't make too many more tanks, so he's just going to make sure he makes the right composition because too many Thors is a problem, too many Siege Tanks is a problem. He's going to maintain a good ratio of units. 2 Spires going up now, so Stephano can get his upgrades for the Greater Spire. And get the Greater Spire itself, plus you get the upgrade for the Broodlords. That Viking's still hanging out. Trying to be annoying. We have Neural Parasite on the way as well for Stephano. Neural Parasite, I feel, not used enough with Raven specifically. It's hard to do, but it is possible to Neural a Raven and then use that Secret Missile ability against the Terran player. If you can get your Infestors that close, that is, it's always situational. It's usually more so about just grabbing big Thors or Siege Tanks and just disabling Terran units, not so much about how much damage the Terran units can do to your opponent once you have control of them. Raven count's getting a little bit higher as well, now going up to 3, and if he starts 2 more, he'll go to 5, which is a pretty scary amount of Ravens considering that we're only at the 17.5 minute mark and he's going to start building a lot of energy. Has to lift again, and Stephano just has a small group of Roaches. I really like this Roach aggression because it's annoying. It's going to force him to lift. He has to defend here. He has to be at home. He's losing SCVs. Stephano can trade this. Look at his bank. He has 5,300 minerals and 1,200 gas. For him to trade these Roaches is something that he is not worried about in the slightest. Notice Hack continues to check for hidden bases. He does not see any bases to the south. The top right, there is a base he has seen, but as a mech player, it's really hard to go for drops to kill hatcheries. You can only kill drones. That's why we see that Hellion drop going around the right side. Stephano already has defenses in place. He's making additionally 4 more spine crawls to that top right base as well because he knows it's been seen. So with this, I don't think this drop is going to do too much. Stephano now has his creep spread as well going through the center. He's spreading it in 2 different directions. Upon his initial direction, which is to the right side. So he's got creep going basically through all different lanes of this map. The only place he's missing is the left side, which is being slightly cleaned up right now. Scans ahead. This is not to kill the tumors, but to see where the Zerg army is so he doesn't get bungled with his Ravens and his Thors. Using the Raven, of course, for vision to clear up those creep tumors. Just trying to find openings. Here comes that drop. Like I said, the spine crawler's in place. Way too much defense there. Going for the third base has a little bit less spine crawlers, but there's still 2 of them there. It's not going to be able to do very much damage. Broodlord transition is underway. 3 Vikings only out on the map, but there are 11 Thors. So with good Thor shots and good micro, especially with those Ravens, he can do a lot. And even though he loses these Hellions, he does take out some of those drones. Not very many. In fact, only 3. A few of them almost about to die. The double upgrades coming out for Stephano's air units get a little bit scary as well. And uh-oh, this command center is in trouble. He could have actually landed. There he goes. He was probably expecting there would be some Broodlords behind, but it was actually only Corruptors. And now the rest of the army comes. He's going to try to force Hack out of position and then catch him here. He considers it. Decides not to. You know, nobody researches the strike cannon for Thors. I feel like if you have this many Thors, it could be pretty useful against Ultras to have it. We may see that. I highly doubt it. Nobody makes it. So that's something to consider. An old upgrade. That's quite good. Look at how fast the Broodlords actually died to that much Thor firepower. We can see Seeker missiles. Here we go. Boom! Down go the Corruptors. This is exactly what Hack needs. Neurals go down though. And you know what? He's got control of a lot of these Terran units. This allows him to push through, but does he have enough units overall? The Ultras all fall here. And Hack is going to push these Broodlords back pretty easily with this many Thors as long as he targets. And the Thors just, they have too much DPS, they have too much plating. He's got +2 plating on them. Those Broodlings not really able to compete with that. They only have +1 attack. And Stephano Remax has got that bank, but the gas bank for him is not quite what it used to be. Now it's down to 500 gas. He used to have so much more. He still has a ton of bank in minerals, but Hack has a mech army that's not going to stop, at least not easily. The composition that Stephano makes next is really important because if he goes back into Ultralisk, you know, that's a composition that's a little bit situational, and it all depends on whether or not your opponent has enough siege tanks and has the right engagement point. Whereas Broodlords, I feel, are safer all around, but it's always the concern, well, how many Vikings does he have? I don't really know. He's got a lot of Ravens. Last time that didn't go so well with my Corruptors. You're going to make decisions as a Zerg player, what unit to make. 9 more Corruptors coming out. He's sticking with the Broodlords. I like this choice. A lot of Thors were eliminated earlier, and he has that Neural Parasite to help out in the big fights. If he can just get the Thors disabled for long enough to get enough Broodlings on the ground to where the Thors just die too quickly or they can't really move because the Broodlings surround them and the Broodlords outrange them, that could be quite good. But you know, Hack's army is still quite formidable and it's very heavily upgraded. In fact, in army supply, he's ahead, 136 to 109. That's partially because Stephano has 20 more Harvesters than he does, so he has a better maxed out army. He has more supply in army because he didn't make as many SCVs, because as a Terran you can do that, you can drop mules instead. And finally, this lone Viking will fall. The siege tanks are actually going to work on this hatchery. Without the Broodlords over here, he may get it, but the thing is, if the Broodlords come over to defend, he can snipe them with the Vikings. This is extremely well positioned by Hack. Starts to damage this hatchery, forces Stephano to engage. And Stephano comes in here. There's way too many Vikings for him to handle, and those Corruptors are out of position. Good concave on the Corruptors, however, and the Corruptor count is at 18 right now. With all the Corruptors coming around for the surround, he may just have enough. The Thors here are surrounded as well. Even Queens come to transfuse. Stephano comes in with way more Corruptors than I knew were on the map. And it looks like Hack is out of luck with this army, and this is something he cannot afford to replace. He doesn't have the money. He has the gas, but not the minerals. 11 Broodlords on the way at once. Have you ever seen that many Broodlords on a production tab before? That's a rhetorical question, but that's a lot of Broodlords. He's going to have 19 in total. And Hack, he lost all of his Vikings. He only has 3. He's making 4 at a time. But the Corruptor count is still high. Even after making that many, he's got 14 more to spare. 3 upgrades on the way for the air units. And that command center, I don't think, even if it lands, the Broodlords are going to have something to say about it. There it goes. Way too many Broodlords for Hack's planetary there. Going for a little bit of harassment here, avoiding the spine crawlers. But I think it's, you know, at this point in time, he can try to go for harassment. But the bigger issue is the death ball of Stephano. How does he fight this army? Ravens might be the only answer. Good secret missiles might be the only answer for Hack. And it's funny because we're at the beginning of 2013, and 2 years ago, if somebody said that, everyone would have laughed at them. But in this particular case, the splash damage is all that Hack can rely on. He doesn't have a lot of energy. He uses point defense drone here. The aliens are trying to soak up that Broodling damage, but there's just way too many Broodlings on the map. This could be it. Stephano, I think, has done it for this game. Point defense drones buying time only. And with the point defense zones being used, it says Secret Missile he doesn't have enough energy. And even if he had enough energy for Secret Missiles on all of those Ravens, there's way too many hit points in those Broodlords. He has 16 Broodlords left. That's way too much. I don't think I've ever seen someone make this many Broodlords since I saw Sen versus MC at, I believe it was NASL. That ended up being a problem for Sen, but in this case, I think Stephano may just run away with this game. He's just chasing down the last of the Vikings, camping the starport. GG! Stephano was down. He finds himself in the losers match, but if he wins one more game, he'll go to the final here. Hack, on the other hand, looking a little bit disappointed with his performance there. He showed really good decision making. His move outs were good, but Stephano was always, I feel, a step ahead of him with the composition. When he was making Vikings when Stephano was not going for Broodlords initially, that gave Stephano the edge he needed to start building a bank. And once he built that bank, he was able to remax and do things like make 11 Broodlords at a time with more and more Corruptors behind it. Hack needs to get himself together here. He's one loss away from just finding himself back in Code A where he started and start all over again. And trust me, have you guys seen who qualified for Code A? You don't want to go down there in that first round. No matter who you match up against, it's not going to be easy. In the round of 48, careers are broken. People retire when they lose that round. Usually nobody retires from StarCraft 2 unless they lose in the round of 48 of Code A. There's very few programmers in Korea who have retired before dropping out of that round. It really affects your career. If your team's like a little bit shaky about you, you're trying to get a new salary. If you're a player who doesn't have a team, for example, you fall out of this tournament, your career might be over. A lot's on the line here for Hack. Fan favorite Stephano is up one game. Can he close it out 2-0? Let's find out here at the GSL Code S, casted by the one and only Lone Wolf.